coaches and fans, and welcome to Week 10 Power Rankings. I am joined with the hardest working man in the community, Hutch.
What's up, guys?
Why don't we start off with number 14, where we both have Washington Wailords once again. Why don't you start it off?
I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Cam, bottom of the standings. He's like 1-9 now, and he was the first to be eliminated. And it sucks to say this, but Cam, you're just the worst team in the league. I'm sorry. It's power rankings, it's opinions, but records don't lie. I have seen, like we said in the past, you've made good plays. It's just your draft and your prep is very lackluster. And you get 4-0'd by Susie, which Susie, he's a playoff team right now. Well, he's not in a playoff spot. He's just a playoff contender. So it's not that terrible, but to be fair, he's middle of the road, so you got to make it closer than a 4-0.
This week he actually lost 6-0 to the new addition, Cody, losing to his own patented trick room strategy. He brought some questionable sets like Cursed Porygon 2 against the Conkeldurr, and in the end he couldn't even take one kill, and you got to do better than that. It's tough to say, but with a 1-9 record, it's self-explanatory why he's down here.
Oh yeah, I was thinking of Shadow losing 4-0 to Susie.
Yeah, Shadow
Yeah.
lost 4-0 to Susie.
Well, 6-0 is
So
even
we have
worse.
Yeah, and it's to the new coach, Cody, too.
Yeah.
So at 13, we have a difference of opinion. You've got Static and I've got Shadow. Basically, once again, Shadow brought some crazy sets. This week it was Curse, Fling, Electivire, and they just never really work out that well. He did play better overall this week, I think. He made some solo predictions like Gunk Shot on the Sylveon switch-in, but the over-ambition keeps on costing him. He's over-ambitious with his crazy sets, and he always tries to set up too early, and I believe he could be a monster to play with such unpredictable prep if he just improves his knowledge of forming a game plan and stuff. But
Yeah, I definitely agree. He has crazy sets. It's just I don't think that he thinks through all of his options. He kind of just goes with what seems to work, and he doesn't really think of, oh, this would be a lot better. Um, he lost 4-0, like I explained in the previous, but I'll talk about him when I get to him. But I have Static at 13, and Static, it's each week after another. He has not been playing at the level that he needs to play at. It was a 1-0 against Ian. It was a very exciting match. It came down to Tyranitar versus Clefable, and odds were just stacked against Static for him to lose the match since I believe his Tyranitar was locked in. So there's nothing he really could have done there, but 2-8, it's not a good record by any means.
yeah, I've got him at number 12 because he did have a closer game than Shadow did, but at the same time, there was a fair bit of hacks that made it that close. He got an Iron Head flinch on the Babble, which cost him some differential in the end there. But I will say he did play well with Tyrantrum to apply lots of pressure, which definitely could have won the game, but I don't think he played the end game correctly. He probably should have gone into Tyrantrum at the end rather than letting Whimsicott stay in, because that just gave Clefable free recovery. But I think the end game is the most important part of the game, and it's where I see a lot of coaches struggle, particularly Static.
Yeah, so I have Shadow down here at 12, and reason being that I put him over Static was although that Static had a better match this week, Shadow, we haven't really seen much from him in the past, and we've seen a lot from Static in the past. So it's just in terms of difference in what we've seen from them. And yeah, Shadow's also beaten Static. It was a little bit of hacks, but nonetheless, I mean, in this first four, I'm just gonna be honest. The first three, it kind of just shuffles around each week. 11 through probably 3 is very hard to place, so it's gonna get all mixed up. So it really just comes down to who's had better matches.
Yeah, and like you said, at 11, it's when it starts getting difficult, and it's apparent here. It's so sad that we both had to drop Malone down, even though he won his game in an impressive upset with Lanoon. This game, he showed like a really good understanding of his win cons and how he played to get those win cons to work with the dispatchment of Ferrothorn. But with a 4-6 record and with the fact that most of the teams above him also won their games, it's the fact that I can't really place him with above that with a worse record. What do you think?
Yeah, it really kills me to put Malone down here. He played the game pretty well. If you want to just count the Lanoon, he knew what he needed to do to win, and it really sucks to move him down. But just some of the coaches have just played better, and I could really see Malone making a playoff push. But it's going to be definitely difficult since I believe he has to play Anderson. Or no, he's already played Anderson. He has to play TCP somewhere in there. And he essentially has to win out to make the playoffs realistically. So that's why I had to put him down here because everyone else has better playoff chances than him.
Yeah, I agree with that. Coming down to 10, we have another difference in opinion. You have TJ here. Why don't you talk about that?
Alright, so I have TJ down here, and it's just because some of the other coaches have had more consistent streaks than TJ. TJ has been really inconsistent. He's been a win-loss, 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 win-loss team. He's never really had a win streak going. I mean, he did for a little bit, but it was I ended the win streak, and he's kind of just bounced around the 500 every time that I've looked at the standings. And that's not really going to help you going towards the playoffs because 7-6 is always an iffy whether you're going to get in with 7-6, and that's right around where I see TJ falling. He did play well considering it was against TCP. It's very hard to beat TCP, but yeah, it's hard to fault him for losing to TCP, but he did lose his match.
Yeah, I agree with that. I put Marin Varane here, even though he did win his game against Brad in quite an impressive upset. He's technically still 1-2, which isn't as impressive because he did take over a 4-3 team. I'm just not completely convinced yet. Maybe my judgment is clouded by the fact that he made us sit through a grueling 46 turns of trying to set up a Zygarde against a Tractor Nougat, and he still only got one kill. He couldn't even kill a 50% health Salamence. But, you know, it's stuff like that that like shows that he has like the potential to definitely be one of the top teams, but it also shows that he hasn't really proven himself yet. With how close the playoff races are, though, like you said, it's super hard to rank these people. They're pretty much equivalent. So yeah, at 9 we both have Keister. He's one of the two 5-5 coaches who picked up a loss this week, along with TJ. And while there was some unfortunate hacks, I don't think it was anything that drastically swung the game. The main issue I had with how he played it was that I felt his game plan was trying not to lose rather than trying to win, and it made him lose sight of his potential win cons. You saw in the game that he clicked Sludge Wave versus a Drapion with Scarf and Nidoqueen because he didn't want to get swept by a Dragonite, but that just meant that he sacked one of his important win cons because I didn't have any poison switch-ins other than the Drapion. His prep did seem solid, but the way he played this game was just why I decided to put him down here below TJ.
Yeah, it goes back to it's like how you fault him for lose. It goes back to what I said about TJ. How do you fault him for losing to what is an undefeated team? As of course he lost to you, the St. George Dragonites, and the thing is I've just seen a enormous decline from Keister this season. He won the ASL last season, obviously, and he came in. He started off really well. I believe he started off like 5-1 or something.
4-0.
4-0,
Yeah.
and he's 5-5 now. That's not good. You cannot start off 4-0 and just immensely decline. And I know he doesn't like his team that much. He's got a good team though. It's a good team, although he doesn't like it. It's very good. He's really got to learn to use it, and I'm surprised he hasn't learned to use it so well, or well this far. Like it has some mons that he's used in the past, like Tangrowth, and I feel like Zard just fits his playstyle, but I don't know. I really don't understand why Keister's been on such a big decline this season, but I gotta put him at the 9.
Yeah. So once again, we've got another difference in opinion. You've got Susie down there, and I have TJ. I decided to place TJ a bit higher than you did, even though he also got a loss, just because I felt like Marin didn't prove himself as much. He also suffered some hacks. The Iron Head flinch on Embor forced TJ to burn his Z move on the Skarmory, which was really unfortunate because a +1 Z move would have likely dispatched of the Manaphy that shut down a potential Cloister sweep, which we all know TJ is very good at getting those Cloister sweeps typically. He definitely played really well overall, I think, even though it was against TCP, which is a very strong coach. But I think his odds went down so drastically because of that Iron Head flinch that it's like kind of understandable in a way, but it's still a loss, so I can't put him higher, obviously.
Alright, so I have Susie down here, and while Susie's been getting some really good wins as of late, I believe he had a 6-0 last week and a 4-0 this week. That's 10 differential points in 2 weeks, and that's very good, but Susie's still only sitting at a 5-5 record, and the teams, there's only 3 teams in front of him with 5-5 records, so I'm not trying to dock Susie or anything, I just think the 3 people in front of him have had more impressive seasons as of late. Just in terms of what they've been able to accomplish. Because Susie started off pretty well. He was shaky towards the middle of the season. He's really bringing it back on a 2-game win streak, if I'm not mistaken. So Susie is definitely a playoff contender. And like we've said, 3 through 11 is really a toss-up. 4 through 11, however you want to say it. And it's hard to put a team that's scooped up 10 differential points in 2 weeks at the number 8, but I've just seen more accomplishments from the teams in front of him.
Yeah, that's fair enough. At 7, we both have Cody, and he did pick up a 6-0 victory in a very, very well played game versus Cam, but of course it was against Cam, so we can't really say that he's proven that much yet. It's only a 1-0 record technically because he only took over the team this week. And against the lowest coach in the standings, it's still got a lot to prove. But it was just definitely an impressive game regardless, and I definitely expect him in playoffs, but I don't want to put him above other teams who have proven themselves more so.
Yeah, I could see why you'd put him at 7 as I put him at 7 as well. And I'd probably put Cody in the yellow, but he had transactions and he chose not to pick up Togekiss, and I'm actually kind of hurt because I've seen that man draft like first round Togekiss in every draft that I've seen him in. He drafts like first overall Togekiss. Let's specify that even. So I was a little hurt that he didn't pick up Togekiss, but a 6-0 win over whatever team, it doesn't matter. A 6-0 win is very impressive. And yeah, like you said, Cody's only been in the league for 1 game. I've seen Cody play in other leagues, and he is a very good coach. So again, we haven't seen much from him yet. We don't know how he's going to shape up in the ASL, but we'll keep him at 7 at a 5-5 record, and he could definitely make a late push for the playoffs. A very, very good team.
Yeah, I don't doubt for a second that'll make the push to playoffs, but I just can't say much else about that. So at number 6, you have Marin Varan there. Why don't you talk about that?
Alright, so I have Marin up here, and yes, he's only 1-2 as coming into the ASL. He got his first win, but having your first win against Anderson, that's big. And I believe his other 2 games were against you and for Keister, I think, were the other 2, or something like that. Either way, picking up a win over Anderson in any way, shape, or form, that's very impressive. And at 5-5, he's done better than Cody since we've seen more crafty sets. Plus, he got a better win this week. He's on a better track than Susie, since Susie only picked up a win over Shadow and Cam, so he picked up a win over Anderson this week, which was huge. And then everyone else has just been on a decline, in my opinion. So this 6th spot is very hard to hand to someone, but I just felt that Marin really deserved it just from his prep to beat Anderson.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I put Susie up here because he's on a 2-game win streak right now, and I think momentum is all important in this last push. He played very well this week. He didn't take any unnecessary risks, which he usually does, and he properly dispatched of everything Shadow brought, and adapted very well to the weird things that he did bring, such as the fling Electivire. The game was minimally hacksy. No, nothing really to tilt the game in any direction. It just showed Susie's skill there. And with a 2-game win streak, I think that confidence is going to be really big for him going into his final 3 games. But yeah, at 5, we both have Ian here. I feel like even though Ian's game was a lot tighter than Susie, I feel like he played better overall regardless. And also against an opponent that I think is better than the opponent Susie fought. And with some such instrumental hacks that placed him in a precarious position that he was able to play himself out of, he was much better at showing his ability to play an endgame better than Susie. And I think that shows his strength of play a lot. Second reason is, of course, the all-important momentum. 3-game win streak is very impressive. He hasn't lost a game since picking up Weavile. It's like he's found his groove again. And I think that's really good.
Yeah, going into the season, I remember Ian saying he didn't really like his team, and he's made a lot of transactions to fix it, and I think he's finally found a fit for him. And I said it last week, but he's on a win streak, and Ian does this every season. He kind of just sits around. He sits right under the playoff bar, and then the last couple of weeks, he boom, pushes, makes the playoffs. And he didn't do it the first season, but he's done it season 2 and season 3. Well, season 3 he kind of just killed it, but season 2 he did it. Either way, Ian he's figured out his team. He plays well with it finally, and he's back to the Ian that we all know and love. And if he doesn't make the playoffs, I will be absolutely shocked and will be confused how that is possible.
Yeah, definitely same. At 4th, we both have Hutch here. I've got him here because he's got a better record than the above people. That's basically the gist of it. His crazy 5 win streak was unfortunately come to an end. Linoon is a monster. What else can you say? But it does still give him a very appreciated buffer. Unlike the other teams, he can comfortably afford to lose another game, which is very important here. It was an upset. Like this week, you wouldn't consider Malone one of the stronger coaches up until recently, right now, and he kind of played recklessly with his win cons, allowing Ferrothorn to go down opened the way for Linoon, and I'm sure Hutch is kicking himself about that and will eagerly tell you about how broken Linoon is right now.
Yeah, yeah. Linoon is not a fun Pokemon to play, and yeah, the fact that you can lose one Mon and lose the game, that's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, I moved myself up even after losing just because it was only a 1-0, so it doesn't really kill my differential. And like you said, I have a better record than everyone else before me, so I'm still in a very good position to make the playoffs. It's just I have to play Ian, which I never play well against. I have to play Susie, and I have to play Cody. So an interesting schedule to end out the season.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But we both have Brad at number 3. Why don't you talk about that?
All right, so I have Anderson at number 3, and he was at number 2, but TCP won and Anderson didn't. Basically, as simple as that. And I don't really think Anderson played to his best. There was nothing he could do about Amoonguss getting trapped. That's not really something you can prep for. But he didn't pack anything on Infernape for Finny, which I'm really confused. He can pick from like Thunder Punch, Gunk Shot, there's all that, and I'm kind of confused why he didn't pack anything. And I just felt like Anderson was always on the back foot, and Marin always had planned what was going on.
Yeah, I blame myself for the Infernape. I was helping him prep, and I was the one who ultimately made the call to not bring anything to touch Finny. So, blame me, guys. I do feel, though, that Brad did misplay the end game. I think Brad did have the path to victory very much set for him. But obviously, 81 turn game, it's going to tilt some people. Makes sense. He should have. He preserved the Infernape who couldn't touch Finny, which was obviously the wrong call. He could have switched out the Crocodile into Infernape after taking the Drain Punch, and then he would have been able to kill a Finny and he would have won. But he didn't do that and he lost. It's both of our fault, I guess, for different reasons, but still very good record. He's got a very good shot at playoffs. He's hasn't clinched, but he might as well have. And finally, coming into number 2, we both have TCP. He's clearly come back with a vengeance after the transgression we put against him. We should not have put him in 3rd. That was clearly disrespectful. He got a very nice win over TJ, and while some hacks gave him significantly better odds, I think TCP was in the commanding position the entire game, and even without the hacks, I'm pretty sure he would have won that game regardless.
Yeah, TCP, he's already a good player and a good prepper, but when I prep for his team, it gives you a headache how hard it is to break down his core. I was lucky I had a good team matchup. If you don't have a good team matchup against him, well, you might as well bring some crafty sets, because otherwise you're not breaking through Scar Mega Venusaur, a core I've used before. It is one of the nastiest cores in Mons because they both have reliable recovery. They can both be offensive if they need to. It's so hard to break his core. And then when you allow him to draft things like Latios, Manaphy, and Victini that you also have to find ways to swap into, along with him also bringing Mega Venusaur offensive, he has options to bring like Jolteon and Hitmontop. It's so mind-boggling how he actually got this team, and I will be very confused if he does not make a deep run in the playoffs.
Yeah, honestly, everything about TCP is ridiculous. Just everything. There's very little you can fault him on. Yes, he's lost 2 games. That's why he's 2nd, not 1st. But just overall, phenomenal player, phenomenal drafter. What else can you say? Number 1, got myself. I'm pretty sick of talking about myself. Why don't you go ahead and talk about it?
Alright, so we got 10-0 here. And again, I say it. When are you going to lose? Is it like now, season 5? Like I'm confused. I remember talking in the draft. I was like, you need to draft some bulk. Apparently, hyper offense is the way to go in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon because your team is stupid offensive and it just works. Kartana has some odd like 18 kills right now.
19 actually. I'll
19,
have you know.
there we go. And that should be the MVP. If it's not the MVP, I don't really know what is. And your team is just so offensive. It doesn't look the greatest on paper because you're like, oh, you're just gonna kill it with a bunch of fast mons. But then you have stuff like Tapu Koko, you can run Scarf Kartana, and all this stuff, and then you actually do have bulky mons. You have Blastoise, Mega Steelix. It's not as good on paper as you'd think, but when you actually go to play it, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's definitely understandable. I can understand why people might doubt me. I did get a little bit of hacks that game, and some people might think that that's why I won and that I'm just a lucky player or something. I don't buy it, honestly. I don't think much of that mattered. I think that I've just proven time and time again why I deserve this number 1 spot, and not to sound cocky, but it is what it is. What else can he say? Undefeated team, no brainer to put it in 1st.
Definitely.
So I think that's it, unless you have any closing remarks.
Nah, go ahead, wrap it up.
Thank you guys for tuning into week 10 of Power Rankings. We'll be back next week. So stay tuned for that. Bye, guys.
See ya.